So welcome everybody. It's awesome to get everybody here under one roof. So thank you to all the people from South that came over here. And then also just a shout out to our installers, the other offices that aren't here, and all the people on the front lines that can't be here and are probably going to watch this on video. So huge thanks to them. And a huge thanks to everybody here and the entire team for making this such an amazing year. We still have work to do, but incredible year, so give yourselves a round of applause. Okay, so we only have an hour, so we're going to have to move quick here. We won't get to everything, but we want to respect everyone's schedules. So when we finish, this group is going to stay up here as long as we have to ask or to answer individual questions. So if we missed your question, please come up and we'll do our best to answer it. The rest of you can go to the lobby. There's snacks and beer, and so feel free to enjoy that too. So I want to kick us off just by saying thank you for the amazing questions. So as usual, you guys brought it. There were pages upon pages of questions and really good ones. And most companies, the statistics are amazing, just lack employee engagement. And there's no lack of engagement here, especially with these questions. So thank you guys for doing that. Clearly this team wants DI to become its best, so thank you. I also, I think that we got a lot of questions that you could tell people were really passionate about helping to address. And I think, there was several questions on climate change. And we need help with that. So if you're passionate about that, please come forward and let us know, because that's something that we could use help on. So if it really matters to you, please come forward. And then maybe one of the most important reminders today is that all of us have a boss. And that boss is our client or clients. And the 2025 vision, none of the gyms, the cafeterias, the buildings, the equipment, the bonuses, the training, none of that stuff happens if we don't create remarkable experiences for our clients. And remember that, clients can choose anybody. They don't have to choose us. And so if we don't deliver great designs, great technology, and give it to them at a fair price, they could pick someone else to do it. And so our clients, we all have to remember our clients write 100% of our paychecks. So it's a good thing to remember. We have a lot to be proud of, and I can promise you that this team up here cares deeply about everybody in this room, and we've created an amazing team. So we should all be really proud of that. So before we start, I do have one more request for everyone. If we say something that doesn't come off right, or you didn't hear it right, or it doesn't answer your question, please, we're humans too, so give us a chance. Come up and ask us for an explanation, see what we meant, give us a chance. And then Tom's got one more thing to kind of chime in on.
Sure. We'll sort of work through this while if you direct your attention to where the chairs are coming in. Also behind the chairs, we've got something for everybody today before we leave. A lot of companies will have company values or corporate values. A lot of other places will put those up in the form of successories and a bunch of words on walls that somebody sat in a room and thought about for about 15 seconds and said, "Oh, that word sounds nice." We took a run as a company at taking a first pass at our core values about a year ago, just to start thinking about words that we associated with people at DI. And as part of our EOS rollout process, we took a really, really hard look at the values that make this place special and are embodied by everybody in this room. And we took a recut of those, and we said, we're not just going to take this lightly. We want to make sure that everybody understands that there's a story behind this, because when we created them, we thought of a ton of different projects and a ton of different people who have stories about what makes this place so unique. So today, before you leave, we've got a story behind those core values that we've taken another run at. And then they're also in the form of something that the vast majority of people here utilize every day, which is a coffee or tea mug. So not only are we just it's more meant to be something for you guys to take home, to think about, to utilize every day, and just recognize in the people around you the stuff that makes this place really special. So before you leave today, don't forget the boxes over there in the corner. Okay.
Hey, y'all. Okay, little icebreaker question. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
The hard stuff first. Who wants it?
I'll take it. I'll take it. So, is a hot dog a sandwich? I think a sandwich is defined, and I looked this up, by two pieces of bread sandwiching something. And I think a hot dog has that, two pieces of bread, but it has kind of a living hinge between the two pieces of bread, so I think it doesn't qualify, so no, it's not a sandwich.
It's a,
One class.
I think it's in the wrap and burrito family myself.
A hot dog is a hot dog, not a sandwich.
I would say if you look in any wellness book, a hot dog is a death trap.
I'll follow that up with I can't imagine eating a hot dog, so I have no idea. The question is it food, I guess?
Wow, okay. When are we going to storm the paper company? Because they can't stop us all.
Okay, so I think by the paper company, I think you mean box company maybe next door, but maybe not. But if it's the box company, we don't have to storm them. They've actually surrendered. It's kind of, I heard lots of rumors, but I actually met with the owner 6 months ago, and he said, as long as you can find a place for the current tenant to go, then you can buy from us. So I drove Robert all over town looking at different places, and anyway, we finally found a place for him. So he's moving out, and we'll be moving in at the very end of this year, beginning of next year. So it's been 7 years or so that we've been working on that. So it's exciting. I know it's not the most beautiful building. I've been calling it the Millennium Falcon because it's kind of ugly inside, but man, it's very functional and it's connected to our building, so it's important.
Okay. Since North and South Design has been grouped into one building, is there a plan to combine more departments, or is there an overall plan to combine all of DI under one roof?
All right, so great question, and that really ties into what Tucker was saying. So Tucker's email a week ago really answered a good amount of this. We definitely know we work better when we're under one roof, or at least as we're closer together. So yes, design has been combined. We've also done the work recently to combine project management, and so we'll see more of that work continue to converge and collaborate, combine the work that we do versus diverge it, but a lot more to follow on that. What we know going into the first half of next year is that we've got some big projects moving. LASED is huge. Raiders will continue to churn through, so we know we need all of the space that we have, and we'll utilize all of that, and then through the first part of next year, and then do the planning, and then really start making more of those decisions into the second half of next year.
What is the short-term and long-term real estate plan? What changes can we expect in 6 months, a year, up to 5 years? Same question goes for satellite offices / additional locations.
Yeah, so we would love to get everyone back together, just like Steve just said. But we also need to keep all of our options open because it depends on really the type of work we get, how much space it takes up, and so, like I mentioned, getting the box company in the start of 2020 is kind of the first thing. And then, so the lease, I mentioned this in the email, but the lease for Lenexus till 2022, but we could start moving some folks and some equipment back. We just have to assess everything depending on the workload. This kind of shows you the location of the box company, which everyone kind of knows, but also there's an opportunity for us to expand the parking there because the parking is really inefficient. And the connection between those two buildings could just be a paved walkway with a couple of garage doors, so it's not necessarily a tunnel. We've also got a chance to do something in this area, and this, you can see the middle section on that rendering. That's kind of highlighting the area that we're sitting in right now and other areas that we can impact to increase efficiency. So relocating engineering in the lab will give us a lot more space on the main shop floor. And then in this area, there's room for additional restrooms, coffee and snack cafe, and more open seating for meeting and collaboration space. So we've got some renderings that Ken has been working on. that kind of give you an idea of what this could look like in this space so that it could be multi-purpose and used for a lot of different things, and it helps us expand. We also have a plan here coming up. This is kind of the cafeteria that I mentioned. And so this, if at the tail end of the lease with 22 now on Exec, in order to get all of the office people back here, we really need to do something like this. So this sticks out basically off of the end of the building here, and it sticks out towards Marion Drive, and it's about 36,000 square feet, and it's 2 stories, and really would allow us to kind of potentially do the whole campus idea. The biggest and most important part of all this is this has to get city approval, and we also are putting it in front of the city for incentives. And so, and it's really just tax abatement incentives, and we're going to know the answer to that here in really in the next few weeks. And that's why I mentioned in an email it's important to kind of keep this under our roof right now, because we really just need to let that process take its course and see what happens. So if the city doesn't grant those incentives, then we might have to figure out some other plans. But so far, I think we're in a good position to do it.
Speaking of renovations, why isn't the new parking lot paved?
Yeah, so good question. It actually ties into that last piece I just talked about. That addition will go right over the end of where that parking lot is. And so the last thing we wanted to do is spend, a couple $100,000 putting curbs and pavement in, only to rip it out a couple years later, even sooner. And so it's currently it's asphalt regrinds or fines, I think, Jason. I don't know the exact term, but and so we didn't waste any money putting it down. So it's the right foundation for when we do pave it or put the building in. So.
Switching gears, will Allison continue to be an executive team member? If not, are there any plans to have another woman added to the executive team since it's male dominated?
Yeah, so we think this is a great question. We can't say enough about the impact Allison has had and will continue to have. And yeah. Diversity of thought is very critical, and we're actively interviewing in a couple of really key roles, and that's a major consideration. So we completely agree with this question. But just so everyone knows, and I think it's been said before, but it's important to say again, Allison's still an owner, and she is still on the exec team, so she is with us every week in the meetings. And you might not see her around as much, but her input maybe is more powerful and important now because she's not in the day-to-day like the rest of us, so she can call our bullshit better than anybody.
Will we ever get Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve off?
All right. So we did the rolling holiday last year to add the day after Thanksgiving, and that is true for this year as well. We did announce just a few weeks ago that we've added a rolling holiday starting in 2020. So that is an additional holiday that could potentially be utilized for Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve, or something around the summer holiday. So that'll be taken into consideration. We do want to remind folks that one choice, that one holiday, does cost us $80,000 just in raw payroll dollars. To look at overall lost production, can be upwards of $200,000. And then, of course, that plays into how we achieve GGOB bonuses and all of those things. So it's always important for us to balance all of those and kind of move slowly into those. So we do have the rolling holiday for 2020. Certainly, one of those 2 days could be a prime candidate for how we use it. So more to follow on that.
Can the 401k match be increased to be more competitive?
Okay, I'm going to take this one. I think with the GGOB transparency of what you're seeing, we put together a benefits committee that I think Terry and Dina both head up. And so putting this question back into the committee's wheelhouse to help us make some determinations, but looking at the next year's budget, just at a raw number of potentially $20 million in payroll, you're looking at close to already $600,000 of 401k match if everybody chooses to maximize that benefit, which I encourage you to do. Another 1% is another 200,000. So put that in all of the other pieces that we're seeing as really important. Is this the most important thing? That's the cool thing about the committee and all of you, is you can help us make that determination.
Okay, are there plans for a future daycare at either north or south?
I'll start by saying the question is ambiguous if that is humans or animals. So I'll answer for both, right? Out to Allison's point, one of the things that we really want to focus on, we talked about it during both benefit huddles over the last couple of weeks, is that we want benefits, our strategic plan on benefits over the next 1, 3, and 5 years. We want you guys to tell us what's most important, like prioritizing benefits, whether it's health benefits, daycare, gyms, wellness. There's a million things under the sun that it can be. It comes back to prioritization, to what's important for the majority of this group. On daycares, right, whether they're humans or non-human daycare, again, not that benefit doesn't necessarily extend to everybody, so that's always a hard one. The second thing is daycare facilities come with a tremendous amount of liability, particularly when you put them in manufacturing environments. So we can tell you that in talking to other CEOs and CFOs around town, that's no small thing. So just a couple things to consider as we evaluate that going forward.
Okay, in the 2025 video, we heard of ideas like a new health and wellness plan, expanded gym, in-house cafeteria, daycare, retirement and GGOB plan, scholarship programs, etc. When can we expect to start seeing implementation of these ideas?
Tomorrow. The reality of the situation, right, is the 2025 video is inspirational and aspirational. It's not going to happen overnight. So I come back to my last comment about prioritizing. You know, is an expanded gym more important than another 1% on the 401k match, or changing our healthcare options? Like, those are hard decisions that we need everybody's input on. So I'll come back to that again. Speaking of benefits, just real quick, this is a spot where Terry asked me to put a plug in for the 86 of you that have not registered for benefits yet. The deadline is tomorrow at noon, so you're welcome. So just for, I don't know who those 86 of you are, but that's no small thing. But I will say this, we showed that's also not a way to just kick the can down the road. We're really actively considering this stuff. You saw some of the renderings on the space. There are some things that we're really trying to figure out spatially what our options are. So more soon.
Okay, does DI sponsor motorcycle racing teams? And if not, would they be interested?
We get asked, in the sports market, we get asked to sponsor teams all the time, so the short answer is no. Kind of fun story, I think we're getting enough presence in the sports market right now, and in Kansas City, we were recently asked to be kit sponsors for Sporting KC. We decided that the spend was not the most appropriate way to spend our dollars these days. But if you have an opportunity with a team that can be tied to a charity, we strongly encourage you to bring that opportunity to the DI Foundation, and maybe there's a workaround that way.
Okay, this next one is pretty long, but the heart of the question is, what active steps is DI taking to attract the brightest and best talent?
Yeah, so there's long, and there's a couple layers here. First thing, just to talk about some numbers, I think I can't help myself. So our turnover right now is about 12%. We look at data in other companies and other industries. We think that that's actually below average. So we're pleased with that, but it can absolutely get better. And the other part of that is to continue taking steps to attract the best talent around, and that comes in the form of, it's everything from design and technology resources, it's fabrication resources, it's project managers, it's accountants, it's everything. And so we're taking a lot of different steps, whether it's establishing relationships with trade schools, establishing deeper relationships with programs at places we've had awesome historical relationships, like Iowa State. Pitt State is another great example. The thing that we do every day is the amount of traffic we get through here is incredible. So even on tours, when we're trying to continuously show people the work we do and the energy that this place has, that's a great attractor of talent for us. So again, we try and speak and communicate in everything we do. It's the people we hire. It's the work that we do. But there's a ton of little steps underneath that. Can we get better? Absolutely. And so I think one of the things that we've seen this year, we'll talk about this a few times, we've hired 70 people this year, and a lot of those come from internal referrals. So the best way for us to get talent is for people to recommend DI to their friends who are going to come in and be kick-ass employees. So we have to continue doing that too.
Okay. Engineering capacity seems to be like a major obstacle or bottleneck. What is the plan there?
So this is one where, just my short tenure here with DI, I love the fact that DI is certainly a learning environment and a learning organization. I think this is one we learned a lot about this year. So did a lot of experimentation, did some new and exciting things with engineering, which I think are paying off. We also then didn't necessarily backfill all of that experimentation one for one as we were trying to stay as financially responsible to the experimentation as we could. So learning from that, certainly in Q3 we've put a lot of calories and effort into this, and so there is quite a bit of hiring that's taken place with engineering, both at South and North, some more collaboration between now South and North engineering, and so I'd say we've gotten to a good degree caught up. In fact, we're making a lot of good ground at South, and we just had another engineer start at North this week. And in Q4, I think we'll actually get that fully right-sized and be ready for all of the work coming at us for next year, as well as just the right amount of capacity for the kind of drop-in type things that we want to be able to take advantage of. So great lessons learned. Nice that we're learning them so quickly, and I think we'll be in a very great place as we go forward from here.
Lack of room to grow has been cited in multiple cases of lost talent at DI. How is the executive team and HR working to address this issue specifically? And what are we doing to truly invest in our employees, succession planning, training, et cetera? How do we develop our employees to their long-term goals?
Yeah, another great question. So this one, really has two sides to it. So as an organization, we certainly have a lot of work to do, formalizing career pathing, doing the work with specific development plans for each employee, as well as then what succession planning looks like, inline and lateral promotions, just where we can find places to have movement and feel like we're learning and growing and contributing in more and different ways. The other side of that, especially I think everyone in this room knows that there really aren't too many organizations like DI where we have the opportunity to learn different things, be in completely different disciplines from one year to the next, maybe even within a year. So we want to make sure that that's a two-way street. So one, that we create formalized development plans for all of us and hold ourselves and each other accountable to it, as well as that we continue to stay curious, continue to learn, continue to reach out into different areas and make sure that we don't have silos between the work areas we have, that we're constantly reaching out and collaborating, whether that's just on a temporary basis or a different career path. So lots of work there for 2020.
Yeah, I was just going to second that this is a major priority for us. This is not the first time we've heard this question, so it's something that we take really seriously. We have a lot of work. Dina and her team are working really hard at this. It's our job to make sure that they have the resources they need to be able to do that effectively. So a lot of work to be done there.
Office politics play a huge role in upward mobility and growth at this company. This can come in the form of both perceived and unperceived biases. Would DI be willing to invest in bias training for supervisors?
So the short answer to that is yes, and Tom will talk in a little bit about some of the other potential opportunities that we have for training. So yes. The other side of that is to recognize that maybe if you've been in this environment for a very long time, or mainly only in this environment, this is really a special place. So I don't want to certainly downplay anything that anyone's going through within office politics, and if you feel that happening, please talk to to any one of us. At the same time, just from my experience with previous organizations and working with more than 24 Fortune 500 folks and organizations around the country, that we have a very unique opportunity here to collaborate, be inclusive, and have a sense of belonging with one another that a lot of organizations just don't have. So it's important that we feed that and grow that all of the time, and if office politics are getting in our way, that we talk to one another and get the help you need, either through one of us or of course through HR, if you feel that that's the way to go.
In 2017, DI likely experienced a windfall after corporate tax rates were slashed. Can you walk us through how this money was reinvested into the company and what portion, if any, went back to the executive team in the form of bonuses, incentives, or other compensation?
So I can give a tax class, or we can get somebody to get in, give tax classes, but you guys would all be fast asleep, I guarantee you. There's two types of corporations. There's a C Corp and there's an S Corp. Back in 2000, and I believe it was 6, we converted from a C Corp to an S Corp, given the incentives that were out there for S Corps. So this windfall, the tax cut that took place, was only applicable to C Corps. We explored the opportunity to move back to a C Corp because of this, but the penalties and the additional tax that would cause us, or cost for us to do this, outweighed the benefit. So anybody wants to explore any more, this is a passion of mine. I would love to talk about it with you individually, or bring somebody in to help you understand it more.
See you, definitely not me. But if somebody sees where all that extra compensation is, I want to know about that part, because that's...
This question basically is asking how consistent we review the money that team is saving, and can we do more on an individual level to help increase our savings?
Yeah, I mean, this is one thing that we absolutely all need to do a better job of. So as we certainly get back, it's been an incredible year. The amount of work that's been done in a very short period of time has us all kind of head down, moving forward, doing whatever it takes to get the work done. On the other side of that, we certainly haven't been nearly as diligent to spend and savings as we could be. So that could come in the form of mini games. That could come in the form of different departmental huddles and initiatives. We want to be very creative about how we do this, so we can put some fun into it. But certainly an area for 2020 we're absolutely going to have to focus on to make sure that we're making every dollar go as far as it can for our clients and for ourselves.
We've exceeded the level 10 bonus and described our 2019 performance as amazing. If DI put forward the same performance in 2020, would we reach a level 10 again? And if not, what bonus level would a 2019 performance merit in 2020?
That's an awesome question. One, I'll start by saying that the 2019 is not over with yet. So we got to cross the finish line first. Secondly, we're in version 1 of the budget right now for 2020. I will tell you, though, I think this is a great question. When we lay out the 2020 budget as a company in January, we'll come back to this and show, okay, so here's exactly how 29 shook out, here's what those levels were, and here's how it's going to shake out for 2020, so everybody understands it. I will say this, though, right? We set some pretty aggressive growth goals for the company. We believe really strongly that if we're not growing, we're dying. So for us to stay flat is just not going to happen. We're going to continue to work about getting better every day and trying to improve on that performance. So I can tell you that, but we will make sure that we have a hard and fast mathematical answer when we talk about the budget in January.
With Jordan pointing that out, why not take the earnings that are beyond the level 10 bonus and reinvest it in the most valuable asset this company has? It's people.
Hold on. Is there more?
Split it up evenly and add to everyone's yearly compensation rate. That'd be really cool.
Thank you, Spencer. Couldn't agree more on the valuable asset. It is about people, and it would be really cool. And in fact, maybe we've already done so. But before I talk further about that, right, we talk about our goals for the year in EBITDA because we want to make it sure that we're talking about one number, everybody's on the same page, it's one metric. It does not directly equal cash. Now, again, when you want to talk about things that I'm passionate about, I'm happy to have the accounting conversation with anybody in this room who wants to talk about the differences. But with that said, right, you can make some correlations at certain points in time. There's just not, like we can't look at a bank account today and say, oh, that's how much EBITDA we had this year. It doesn't work that way. It's moving targets. But for point of order, I think it's important to kind of talk about, so what's happened this year? Where are we? So first things first, right? Through September, we have $6.9 million in EBITDA, which is well above budget. It is, in Spencer's words, or is it Jordan's words? Amazing. Okay, so that's great. So we start there. But then we talk about a lot of the things that we've done this year, right? We've spent over $2 million on the LSAM, not to mention the hundreds of thousands of dollars to get the building ready to do that. That's not shown here. We've also paid down $2 million in debt. We've talked about that. That's a really big deal for us and a huge accomplishment. We've added almost $300,000 in additions to the fleet this year to keep up with demand and make sure that we're staying in front of things. We've added new cranes to help with the larger projects that we continue to have, so we've made some significant investment there. We've also remodeled the office here to add more space. We've done some work at South, so when you look at all of our office remodel projects, there's another almost $500,000 in investment there. Then we talk about furthering real estate. We bought the statuary, we leveled the statue. We've put the first phase of the parking lot. We've had the option to buy the box company. So there's a lot of things that go into that to the tune of almost another $700,000. So that leaves about $900,000 after just that quick math. Oh, by the way, we've hired 70 people this year to keep up with the growth and make sure that we keep adding talent. So, but that's neither here nor there for this exercise. We've also paid out $1 million in GGO bonuses thus far. We have another $500,000 coming, assuming we finish the year strong. So before that, right, the math says we're down $100,000. So, right, the point being, our job as the executive team is to make sure that we're managing all those investments, whether it's hiring, whether it's trucks, whether it's buildings, whether it's large printers. We want to make sure we're rewarding everybody because we know you guys are working your asses off every day. We also want to make sure that we're, again, hiring people to take that off. So there's a lot to be considered there. And so we just want to make sure that we're talking about the right things and that we're balancing that every day.
Yeah, I was going to add to that, yes, the investments in all of the capital equipment and the people and then the rewards of bonus, but also paying off the debt. I mean, if we all know that debt is just a ball and chain of anybody, and it's the same to a company. So getting our debt back off of our books, which frees up the ability to grow even more. So this $2 million of pay down in debt is huge in my opinion.
Yeah, and I would add that organizations have to make very difficult decisions sometimes in the best of times because it's really the only time can afford to make them. And I think if we look at this list, it's a great list of things to invest in addition to the GGOB bonuses and people. So the good news is that we're taking all of that action to make sure that our years to come are just as successful as this one, if not more so.
With the 2020 presidential election around the corner, the debate over the minimum wage has never been more salient. If the minimum wage is raised to $15 an hour, how will DI restructure compensation packages?
So when we evaluate compensation packages, we have so many different groups of people in so many different departments, so many different skill sets. What we look at is we base it on departmental look. We look regionally to look around Kansas City and a couple 100-mile radius around us. So when we evaluate wages, we're looking very specifically at the best data we can find from as many sources as we can find that's specific to a role. So in short, right, tethering all compensation packages to minimum wage raise is not really how we operate. But to the impact that a minimum wage raise would have in the Midwest on certain pieces of the business, we'd absolutely evaluate that as it affects regional pay scales.
Long one here, stay with me. What are we doing to encourage, support, and promote our talented women? I've heard of several occasions where women ask for promotions only to be turned away. Pointing to Allison's minimized role in the executive team as she moves to DI Build seems insufficient to address DI's gender gap. What can be done to not just retain women, but allow them to thrive and build a career?
I am the woman here. Okay. I didn't really. Yeah, I guess. Wow. Okay. So my role being minimized on the executive team, like Tucker said, I am still attending the Monday meetings, and you see me floating around the office some, trying to stay engaged with what's going on. Because yes, as I build the DI Build with Jason and Kevin and some other individuals that we're bringing on, God, what a fabulous company, and why wouldn't I want to stay involved in this company? So I hope my role is not so minimized that I can't keep kind of my finger on a little bit of the pulse, but also just be up here representing the women that we have in this company who are just fabulous. So as a woman on the executive team and as a woman who has been out in the world, I've never faced anything that's passed over because I'm a woman. if you have in other careers or other environments, I'm sorry to hear that, but if you think that's happened here, by God, get up here and talk to one of us, talk to me, talk to HR, because that is totally effing unacceptable if you believe that you've been passed over because of your gender or whatever. So absolutely. We have incredible women, and if you look at the women leadership that we have that are coming up the ranks and to the management and the director level and everything else, it's exciting. So.
Speaking of minimized roles, this one's directly aimed at me. Has anyone considered making a comp sales package for all employees? For example, traveling for personal time, I went through multiple museums that could use a rebrand from DI. If I were to reach out and get them to contact that as a decision maker and get them in contact with the salesperson, offering a referral might bring us even more business.
All right, first of all, I think we all have said before and all agree that everyone in this room is in sales. From the people that carry that on their business card in some fashion to the installers in the field. It's all of our job to sell DI every day. Second, everybody gets a GGOB bonus. So everybody in this room does get bonused on sales in some fashion. And three, why are you holding out on us if you've got great opportunities? Last but not least, we have had a couple of opportunities over the last several years where a member that was not part of the sales and marketing team played a really significant role in landing a job through personal relationships or business relationships or such. If you have one of those opportunities, come talk to Tucker, Tom, or I, and we'll talk about it.
Yep.
Three-part question here. As we continue to grow, what is the plan to make sure the proper process are implemented and followed through all departments? Continuing to lump that first one into the second. As DI continues to grow exponentially, the need for internal process structure has never been greater. What plans and actions are being taken to address this?
So this is critically important to where we are right now, especially with the continuum of growth that we're in. And we actually put field verification on this as well because it really is a process onto itself. So it's exciting to see as we're working on this how many questions came in reference to process. So we have process evaluation underway right now. We haven't talked about it a lot, but we're going to very soon. Megan is in a new role as our Director of Business Programs and really will be focusing in on the business processes and programs that make us great. And it's in the umbrella of client experience because everything we do here needs to be client-facing and to make sure that our clients are always first and foremost in the processes that we're creating to do work great. So. Within that umbrella of client experience, then we have Rachel and team around strategy. Megan just talked about around business programs and process, and Suzanne from a service standpoint, and that connects directly to Christina and Reich and the investment that we've made there to help us have a single source of truth for the projects that we're working on. And so there is a ton of work going on here. We saw Kanan not too long ago give us some information around ROM pricing and fast budget worksheets, which is an outstanding tool. Chris Laird and team have talked about some processes for subcontracting and making sure we get competitive bids. So there's a lot of energy right now around this. It took us 25 years to get here, so these things won't be solved in a week. And if we thought we did, we'll be wrong. So we will take the time. We're evaluating all of our business processes now. Megan and some others will be coming around talking to many of you around pain points, gaps, decision trees that lead to nowhere, all of those things. And so if she doesn't get to see you, please make sure you hit her up, either email or stop to talk to her, because we're gathering all those pain points, and then we'll start prioritizing and one by one creating consistent, standardized, repeatable processes that make us outstanding.
And on the last one, we're actively testing 2 different pieces of software now on field verification. So there are things in process to address that specific issue too. So continue to think about different pieces of software that help us do our jobs better, faster, and a lot more simply. So.
What steps are we taking as a company to hold clients accountable to project schedules and scope?
We can do a lot better job of this. I think everybody in the room would agree to that. I'll also say this, that there's some good news. Right, each department in this room feels like it's always the department in front of them that's screwing them over. Right, it starts at sales, and then it's design, and then everyone's taking their sweet time and screwing up the deadlines for everybody else. Good news and bad news. The good news is it's not just the department in front of you, it's everyone. But that is truly the bad news. We've got a lot of work to do here. When we work with a lot of general contractors. When they talk about day for a day, they mean that day number one, the first day you walk on a job site, if you lose a day from that point on, the schedule moves back. And they live by that, and they make a lot of money change ordering people to death to live in that model. I'm not advocating that becomes the model that we subscribe to, but we've got to do a much better job starting it during our sales process, working all the way through our project on understanding what a day really means and how much it costs everybody at the end. I mean, our installers are kicking ass every day, and at the end of the process, all that compression jams up on them. And so we as a group have got to figure out better ways all along the process to lengthen that timeline and kind of hold firm on our deadline. So this is another area where we can get a ton better. And if you have ideas and thoughts about the process part of the discussion, let's keep talking, because there's got to be a better way.
With the sales seemingly pushing fancier fabrications, heavier metal fabrication, difficult plastics, and more meticulous metalworks, oh gosh, has thought been given to updating our machines, benders, breakers, and other modern equipment to facilitate their manufacture?
We think like this every day, and I think we have a couple of really great examples of exactly how we've used great opportunities in the market and great jobs to pay for equipment. The LSAM tied directly to the Raiders scope is the first. You know, we hope there will be lots of additional opportunities beyond the Raiders, but the Raiders help pay for that job. The Raiders' job helped pay for that piece of machinery. I'm sorry. And then another great example is the cranes. The crane here, the cranes that are being installed elsewhere are being leveraged because of the work that we have in transit out there. We also have some great opportunities with SoFi, the naming rights partner out at LASED in LA. We've got a couple of signage packages that are massive. If we land those might be a great opportunity to explore some metal shop equipment upgrades as well.
And I would add, I was just thinking, I've been in manufacturing prior to this for 2 decades, but being in manufacturing for a while, there's also a great benefit in equipment that we can count on to basically just print money for us every day. So some of that equipment that's been around, we can count on it day in and day out. It's paid for. There's no depreciation on the books. Those type of things, and we can keep utilizing them as many hours a day. When they're running, they're working for us. And so while some of this other equipment is working to get to its break-even point, it's great to have a good, solid balance of other equipment we know that's just kind of our steady eddies and just make money for us day in and day out.
When comparing ourselves to subs who fabricate and install similar to us, they are generally much quicker. Have we completed a time study on an element basis to constantly measure our progress and relieve ourselves from roadblocks that slow us down?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, too. That's around really, as we get through the work to understand our processes, optimize them, that's really where that full process optimization comes in. So we can basically we'd have to get relatively standardized and repeatable before we can put merit into time studies and understanding how long it takes us to do work. Because oftentimes from job to job, depending on how we've resourced it, it doesn't take us the same amount of time each time we've done it. We had 5 people available this job. We had 2 available one other job. We sourced it a 3rd time. So as we get repeatable processes, absolutely that's where we'll start utilizing process optimization, continuously improve, and as soon as we think we're as good as we're going to get, start over at the beginning and get even better from there. So a lot to follow on that.
This next question is tied into what Tom said about how we've already hired 70 people this year. Can you provide more explanation for the decision to triple in size by 2025? What kind of measures are being taken to ensure we don't grow too fast too soon? Do we feel that it's possible to preserve the family feel of the DI culture at that size?
Yes, we do believe it's possible and will happen to preserve that family feel of DI at that size. The 2020 the vision we've put out for 2025 is not based upon growth just for growth's sake. It is about the opportunity for us to liberate more people from mediocre experiences. And at the end of the day, that is what is going to drive our growth. If at some point growth gets in the way of us fulfilling our purpose and doing great work, then we'll cut back. But what we've found is the goal setting is really effective in this company. In 2011, some of you were here for that exercise. 2011, we did kind of vision for 2015. If you look at that document, almost all of it came true. In 2015, we looked at vision setting for 2020. You look at that document, almost all of it came through. And we're doing the same thing for 2025. And you know, these stretch goals give us the opportunity to grow, make decisions, put processes in place to remain the family that we've been, but get more sophisticated as well.
Similar to the executive structures of Europe, Australia, and Asia, would DI consider allocating space in executive level meetings to regular employees to account for insight and concerns on the ground?
Yeah, we love that idea. And we've been working on a couple of different ways to do that, whether it's breakfast or lunch meetings with the exec team, but we love the idea. So if people are interested in wanting to do that, then please come and let me know, and we'll make a room for it. We'll let that be the first test.
Today, rather than waiting for someone to tell them to, many forward-thinking companies are taking aggressive stances to tackle issues they deem important, like climate change, gender inequality, and sexual harassment. What issues do you, the exec team, see a need for DI to address?
Yeah, this is an awesome question. And I'm not sure I'll be able to hit an exhaustive list of things, but I'll at least talk about some of the things that we're really talking about today. The first one is sexual harassment. It's well-timed. We actually have training for the whole company, so guess what? Everyone's going to have sexual harassment training coming up in December. So timing for that is a really good announcement, because that's a huge thing that we want to make sure that we're talking about. Climate change is something that Tucker mentioned. It's also something that we're really trying to figure out exactly what our impact can be. I think that means something different for everybody in this room, and so we're really looking for people to step forward and help us understand that, particularly as we get into the world of 3D printing in a deep way. That's a big thing for us. Diversity and inclusion continues to be a big topic of discussion. Education around that is going to be first and foremost on our minds coming into 2020. That's something that we really need to talk about. And that's a very broad topic, but we also want to make sure that we're hitting everything that falls under the path of diversity and inclusion. I think, one of the things that Allison talked about earlier is specifically on the diversity inclusion part is gender equality, a massive discussion for us, and something that we're really proud about the leadership that we've developed, but we have a lot of work to do. We recognize that. So those are things that we're really thinking about and looking at in 2020. Am I missing anything there? There's more that we address every day, but those are the ones that are really top of mind as it came through the question.
Okay. Yeah, I got this question.
Slow pause. Slow pause. Slow burn.
As the national conversation on cannabis use reaches an inflection point, more and more states legalize recreational use, and our neighboring state, Missouri, has voted to decriminalize all and legalize certain use. How does DI continue to defend its zero tolerance policy?
Well, first of all, we are in Kansas and not in Missouri. And second of all, safety has to be paramount to all of us. It's not just our personal safety, and it's not just the first one in the DI-75. It's also our well-being. It's the well-being of how all of us make a living for our families. It's the contribution to the community that we have here. So looking at that, we will continue to maintain our zero tolerance policy as we continue to put safety in the forefront. So as the years change and laws change, we'll continue to have to revisit this. It's really difficult for the states that have legalized it to even understand what that means to legal thresholds and limits to, when you're impaired and not impaired. And we're just not going to ever be in the gray area of that conversation. So, and I will follow it up. This is an organization that does allow for alcohol. There's kegs here, which is outstanding, and we need to continue to utilize that responsibly. So just a friendly reminder that once we've had a drink at the late part of the day to no longer do physical work, and this is a very helpful environment. So you may have had a drink and someone's like, hey, can you help me lift this thing? I want you to know you have the authority. We're asking you to say, sorry, you know, I've had something to drink. Can you ask somebody else to do it? And blame it on me, literally, if you can't give that person a help in that moment. So that way we maintain our safety for ourselves, for our families, for our organization, for our community, and for our clients at the same time, okay?
Okay. What are you most grateful for with DI?
Are we going to answer all these?
We've got
I mean,
8
we-
minutes.
Okay.
So way better than we thought.
We'll start, and we'll go first question if we have time. What do you think?
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
I'm most grateful for all of these people. I mean, this team's incredible, so I'm incredibly grateful for all of you. So I got the easy one.
Mine-
Next one, are we each answering each? I don't.
Mine's kind of like that, but after 15 years of being here, I get amazed by how smart you guys are every single day, going into meetings, going into charrettes, being in the lab, wherever it is, just how incredibly brilliant the people in this room are.
I'm most grateful. DI's become kind of, as I'd call it, a vocation rather than a job. So I'm super grateful for that, and it's a part of the work that we do, but it has everything to do with the people in this room more than anything else.
I'm most grateful that I get to continue being around this group, even though I officially am not DI anymore. I guess I'm DI Build, but I still get to be around everybody, so love this group.
I'm obviously very grateful to be part of this team, a very new member of this team, and part of this growing family. I'm especially grateful for seeing every day people being able to absolutely make a difference in the work that you do. Again, I think that's really special here, that you can say something, you can do something, you can literally change how we were doing something from a moment ago, and it's pretty awesome to see when people get engaged in that and look back and like, man, made that happen. It's really cool.
Okay. What is your favorite memory here, and/or what are you most proud of?
All right, put me right back on the spot. All right. Well, in the historied 5 months I've had here, favorite memory, and what I'm most proud of is and there's so many things to say. So, but again, just to see, I've been able to get to be part of the work that we're doing around the LSAM. And I'll use that as the example, but it really cascades everywhere. I'm really most proud of in the way this organization takes on never been done before. Because it's so easy in that environment to just turn on one another and just start making blame. And I see collaboration. I see people working together, and things that are seemingly impossible to solve. In a couple of hours or maybe a day or two, they're solved. And that's exceptional. So that's awesome.
The thing that I would say I'm most proud of, I have to look at Justin because he sold a project back in the early 2000s of the train museum. You old timers, you probably remember the train museum. And at the 11th hour and 59th minute, we're all down there cleaning and picking tape off glass, and everybody in the company gave it 250%, and we came together and made that the most fabulous job for that time frame. But seeing everybody come together, and no job was too small or too big or too below or too above for everybody to pitch in and get it done. So that's probably my favorite memory.
My favorite memory was, it was during the Mesa Dinosaur Project. I was up here working on a Saturday, and my kids came up afterwards. I said, hey, I want to show you guys something. And we walked out on the shop floor, and my daughter, I think, was like 2.5 or 3 at the time, kind of come waddling out and saw the dinosaur when it was hanging up on the gantry in the metal shop, and she started freaking out. And so I was like, how cool is that to be able to have that kind of, and she's like crying, and I'm, of course, laughing. But it just struck me. I'm like, what an awesome place to work that this is happening. Like, my kids get to see this stuff. So just to have them, to have that experience be so close to home was really, really cool.
I want to circle back to the notion that everybody is in sales. Does everybody know what LTF stands for? Thank you, Morgan. So I Appreciate not making me say it. I never swear.
Could you repeat it?
One more time, Morgan. I love pursuits that involve a whole bunch of us from the building, and when you can just feel the commitment from everyone. And my most recent, the one that sticks in my head is the Raiders. So the number of people from across the organization that came together to come up with a never been done before solution, and everybody rolled up their sleeves and went after it. I mean, with the same vim and vigor that I did. Everybody wanted to win that job. We're doing it right now we're pursuing a really great opportunity with the Dallas Cowboys. It's also an LTF approach, but we have the customer experience team on it. We have the artist formerly known as Rockbox on it. We have design, we have tech. I mean, so many people are excited about winning this job.
Okay, so favorite memory. I don't know if I'm not proud of this memory, but it was Franklin, Tennessee. Davey was there, and Lindsay was there, and it was a Carmike project, and then the client was about to fire us, and I think I was one of the last guys on the job site, and they told me I had to paint the entire thing by the morning, and this was about 10 o'clock at night. And so I found one of our temps, we called him NASCAR, and he drove me around all night and I painted. And I guess the amazing thing was our team showed up the next morning and busted ass, and we knocked that thing out. And it just needed like one thing to get us over the hump, and then we knocked the project out and the client loved it. So that was one of those things. We did the same thing down at Cinemark Legacy. It was the early days of DI, and it took ultimate sacrifice from everybody. So, and what I'm most proud of, this is kind of funny. I mean, I'd say the same answers as what I said before about this team. I'm most proud of the team for sure, but a side note to that, Riefschlager posted the Anthem kind of puck system. I don't know if any of you guys saw that, but Brandon and I were talking about it. When I first saw the post, I said, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever. Who did this? And then I looked closer, and it was something we did. It was just the coolest thing ever. So anyway, hats off to you guys. So.
Okay, good way to end here. What is the biggest challenge we faced in 2020, and what is the biggest challenge we overcame in 2019?
I think the biggest challenge it's really what Justin said. It's about making sure that we deliver on our purpose. We've got a lot of work ahead of us, and we've got to make sure that we deliver it great. So that's super important for us to set up for success for 21.
Yeah, I think I would say the same thing. Just that final 1%, making sure our clients are really, really happy, and we're constantly reminding ourselves that this is not about projects, it's about clients, and the only way they're going to become clients is if we do outstanding work for them.
I would echo what Justin said, but also layer in the question that somebody asked earlier about how do we maintain sort of the family sense and culture that we have as we grow. Like that, I think I mentioned this the last time we did this. It's still the first thought in my mind every day. You know, how do we stay small and get big at the same time? That's a huge challenge for us. And the biggest challenge we overcame this year, it's like a laundry list of stuff. I mean, we're sitting in an area like what Mark and the main shop crew at North here have done with, you know, despite tremendous odds every day, pick up, tear down, get work out the door, make things happen. Like, that's such a great microcosm of all this stuff that we've had to do in every department this year for people coming together to get, you know, what seemingly impossible amounts of work done in incredibly short periods of time without enough real estate to do it in. I mean, so that's like 30 answers, but that all smashed together is one massive challenge that everybody should be really proud of.
Yeah, you said it in all your 30 answers there, what I was thinking.
Took them all.
Growing with purpose. I mean, the 2020, keeping our purpose and living our purpose in 2020. And then just how we came through 2019. I know it's not over yet, but just looking at what we've done and what we've accomplished in 2019, it's just amazing.
Yeah, I would say what's exciting, if there is an exciting thing about a biggest challenge, is that it's really a lot of the questions that were submitted, and it just lets us know how focused everyone is on the work we have ahead. And so really that we don't grow for the sake of growth's sake, that we really do grow with purpose, and just making sure that everything we do in 2020, which is some big projects, a lot of medium-sized projects, and a multitude of small ones, that every client can say, we are great at what we say we're great at. Like, we actually show up do the things that we do the way we said we would do it, and they sleep well at night knowing that they've got DI on the job.
So. Okay. So, time, a couple minutes. So, go ahead. So right at 3:30. So you're like, shut up. Okay, got it. But Tucker did say, hey, if anyone has questions and wants to stay and talk before you get out, happy to answer any other questions. There was a lot here to go through. Again, the biggest piece of this, come seek us out. We want to establish dialogue. Where are there issues and challenges? We want to hear about them. We want you guys to be a massive part of that solution. So please stick around if you have questions. If you want to go have snacks, whatever you do, don't forget the mug. Grab your mug.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.